Good morning, Illini. Welcome back to another Healthy Illini podcast. I am your host, Matt Schrock, and we are in February. This semester is cruising right along, and I'm excited about this topic today. It's one that is important to me. It's important to a lot of people, and it's an anniversary of an event, and so I'm really excited to talk about it. We have a returning guest, and so let's jump right into it. Today we're talking with a couple guests from DIA, the Division of Intercollegiate Athletics, and it's about an initiative that they started last February. But let me introduce them before we get into that. First up, we have Liz Reyes. She is an assistant AD with DIA and part of Illini Way Student Athlete Development. Liz, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we have a returning guest. If you go back in our archives and look back at last February, Delaney Rummel was here and spoke about her own personal journey on health and wellness and some things she does in and out of season to stay healthy. So Delaney, I appreciate being back. She plays on the softball team. She's a utility player, and her major is recreation, sport and tourism, and sport management. Delaney, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And our third guest today is on the baseball team. He's a left-handed pitcher for the Illini. It's Alex Vera, and his major is kinesiology. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, like I said, this is kind of a topic that's an anniversary of an event. In February of last year, February of 2022, I do recall seeing some news on Twitter. Twitter is my sports source. I follow all kinds of Illini sources there just to see what's going on. And I remembered something popping up. There were a few big players on campus. I remember Josh Whitman was a big part of this that came out of the DIA, out of the athletic department. And it was a program called I Matter. That's a capital I-Matter, I Matter. And we are coming up on that 1-year anniversary. So I wanted to have a chance to talk about the program and really just to kind of highlight it and give it some exposure on that. So Liz, I'm going to start with you because I know you were pretty instrumental in this whole thing. So Liz, let's start with just the basics. What is the I Matter program? Why did it start? What are the goals? Just basically give us a baseline for what this initiative is about.
Well, before I begin that, I definitely have to give a shout out to the people and the departments that were involved from the very beginning. Definitely want to acknowledge and credit our athletic director, Josh Whitman, and Sarah Burton, who's also an executive and a part of our administration, for shoulder tapping us to begin this initiative. Definitely administrators that have been helpful and influential in this whole process as well have been Dr. Brianna Robinson and Cassie Arner. And my co-chair, Kelsey Ansfield, she is an assistant AD and oversees our content media group. She's been instrumental in just helping from the very beginning as well as we bounce off ideas, as we think about, how it's best going to work and capture external groups and our fans. Definitely I'm appreciative of her staff, Lee McGurk and Paige Apkirian. Also, our compliance office, Evan Taylor, was really helpful in helping us kind of monitor the behind the scenes social media harassment that's been reported. And definitely shout out to our sports medicine group who know our student athletes very well and their needs, especially in the mental health and wellness space, Randy Ballard and Autumn Taylor. And then last, I'd like to acknowledge our faculty athletic reps we call them our FARs. Dr. Tiffany White and Dr. Brenda Lindsay have also been great for us to communicate with, kind of bounce some ideas off of. And, they have such a great pulse on campus and what's going on with our general student population and then within their respective colleges. And they always do a great job of connecting us to resources or people that may have the answers as we're kind of, facing dead ends or just need a little extra support as well. The information and our content was published last February, so about a year, you're spot on. But the background work began the fall of 21. So the falls tend to be the time where we do some background work and then fans and external groups see it on social media, usually around the spring. But we do have some waves of content that comes out throughout the year. This initiative began fall of 21 with the vision of our athletic director, Josh Whitman, and one of our executive senior women administrators, Sarah Burton. They contacted our offices and sharing about how they would like to support student athletes, staff, and coaches with social media harassment. So we have a couple of key things that we want to hit on with this program. One is, of course, to be a resource and a support source for student athletes that are navigating through this. There's a lot of backlash that happens as they have these huge platforms and, they are so easily visible And especially when games or outcomes don't come the way that all of us would have wished they would have, or maybe we're in the championship season, March Madness, people find it sometimes very easy to go crazy on social media and bash young men and women. So we wanted to provide support to our student athletes. And then two, we would definitely want to raise awareness to external groups, campus, our community, fans from across the country, wherever we can reach. We just want to raise awareness on humanizing our student athletes and kind of helping them share their stories on who they are as people and young men and women, and not just athletes who perform on the court, in the pool, on the field. So that's kind of the background with our leadership in our athletic department and then Division of Intercollegiate Athletics coming to us and presenting this opportunity. We're actually the only program in the country that has an initiative like this, so it's pretty special, and we're really happy that our student athletes have bought in, and a lot of them have participated in various ways through sharing their own quotes and perspectives, video content, doing photo shoots, and as you can see on social media, a lot of them we purposely designed for them to come in just their normal, like who you are as yourself. Don't come in your uniform, don't come with, the full-blown gear, come as who you are as yourself. And not to drag this on, but, just again, want to reiterate all their identities, not just their athletic identity.
I think that's really, really important. Like I said, I use Twitter to follow sports a lot, but I'll be honest, I've gotten to a point now where I have to be real careful about when I see a post. I have to be real careful when I see a post that I don't click on the replies. Like, I use it for news information, things like that. But social media is a double-edged sword. It's a beautiful thing that it has brought us opportunity for exposure, for information. For instance, in years past, it's been very difficult for me to get information on the baseball and softball team. Did they win? Did they not? Especially if it wasn't home. It wasn't a home game. Who's playing well, who's not playing well, just names and things like that. And so I like that part because it lets me follow the teams much better. But at the same time, it also opens the door for people to say things that they would never say in person, that they would never even think of saying in person. But that moment, whether it be they feel a freedom because it's behind a screen that they're hiding behind, or because just in the moment. I'm a father of an athlete, and thankfully there are a number of times that there's a break between the game and when I see her after the game, because there's times where she does something I'm like, and I'm not mad at her, but just it comes out. And so I get that moment to temper what I'm thinking and what happens in the game. But or even just, something that happens at the beginning of a game that doesn't go like the way that we would want, but by the end of the game, it's totally fine. With social media, it's all real time. You see, how many times do you see somebody who praises a player because of a good play in the first quarter of a basketball game, second quarter, they're the worst player ever, they should be on the floor. By the fourth quarter, they're again the greatest player, or vice versa. So you have all these things. So I remember some of that coming out when I saw the social media for the I Matter. I thought, this is really good. This is really important. This is very, very vital because of the society we're in, and because we all. I'm as big an Illini fan as anybody you will meet. I don't care what sport it is. I'm a huge fan of every program we have here, including the club programs. I follow a couple of the club programs too, just because I love it. But we're talking about, and I say this from the perspective of being older now, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds most of the time who are still figuring out. And I'm grateful in a selfish way that we didn't have social media when I was in college. Because I tell stories to my kids about stuff I did in college. They're like, you did what? I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't have social media. That would have been bad. That just would have been really bad. This is stupid decisions I made when I was a kid. But these athletes lived their lives under a microscope. And so I do want to come back to some of the functionality of iMatter. But before we do, I do want to give an opportunity to Delaney and Alex to talk about this a little bit. If you would just share some perspective on what it's like to be a college athlete with the social media spotlight on you. What has been your experience, good or bad, or how does that affect your life, whether day to day or just through the semesters?
Yeah, I think that social media can be a high or a low depending on your situation, how you look at it. I think it really forges a relationship between the fans and student athletes, and like you said, just gives the fans couch criticism, like the ability to just type online whatever they're feeling, high or low about a student athlete. And I think that can really tear a student athlete down if it's negative, but also like really bring a student athlete up if it's positive. But like you said, like sports is a roller coaster, and just like riding that, social media can be really toxic in that environment. And just as a student athlete, just really trying to understand that other people's opinions on social media don't define you. Your athletic performance doesn't define you. It's just really who you are, what kind of person you are, goes way beyond athletic performance. And I think sometimes that can get really lost in being a student athlete and using and fans using social media to tear an athlete down or even bring an athlete up. I think just the whole roller coaster of that can be really tough as a student athlete.
I agree with that. Like you mentioned, it's a double-edged sword. You can use it for a lot of good things, but then you can equally use it for a lot of bad things. And like the ages for us, 18 to like 23, a lot of kids just left home for the first time. A lot of people have even experienced the real world. They're 23, don't even have a job yet because they just are living in college and just want to keep playing for as long as they could because they might not have the opportunity for themselves, that they might not be able to go on to professional baseball or play professional football or just go into any professional sport. So, I mean, a lot of people miss out at like you're an athlete regardless of what your age, of how much playing time you get and all that. You miss the human aspect of it. So, and it gives people who sit and watch the game and everything, like Delaney said, you can use that couch criticism to just say how you're feeling regardless of, you never know if that kid might be, this is the first time being away from home, might be a transfer kid getting used to, maybe when he transferred, he probably went from JUCO to Division I or Division II to Division I, like a couple kids on our team. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it and that a lot of people really don't care about, and they just care about how they're feeling.
And it's one thing that's not talked about a whole lot, at least I haven't heard talked about, let's really qualify that, in this idea of being a student athlete on social media, is that especially when you go to a Power 5 school, you have a spotlight like you've never had. I don't care how good you are, unless you're LeBron James. In high school, you don't have that scrutiny. And now all of a sudden you are front and center on a massive fan base. And that can open up the door. Was that tough was that an adjustment for you? It may not have been, but was that an adjustment for you going from high school when you had a fan base of however big your high school was and your town was, but now you have this massive following that are very passionate. Illini fans, you talk to every time there's a poll out, the wildest or the most passionate or the loudest fan bases on Twitter, Illinois is way up, is always top 5. Was that an adjustment for you to see how much, or to see all the chatter, all the talk about your teams in and out of season?
Yeah, I think so. Even from coming from high school, the high school I went to was pretty well known for sports. And the only banter or stuff I ever heard was from teammates that went to other schools. So for summer programs, they go to different schools, but we come together in this summer. So, I mean, kind of used to it from there because the teams that were on my junior and senior year, we had pretty much everyone in our lineup go Division I, which is very unique for a high school team.
It's impressive. Let me just say, that's impressive.
And we never ended up reaching our goal to win state. So it was always like, oh, you guys had the Hall of Fame team and you couldn't win and all that. So I kind of used to it, and it just goes in one ear and out the other because that's how you have to move on. And then coming to college, just amplified. I remember last year playing Southern Illinois and in-state rivalry between the two teams. Our head coach, Dan Hartlib, he's an alum from there. And that was one of the most intense environments I've ever pitched in. They were a handful, but just like the difference, this all comes down to being able to mature quickly and, kind of be headstrong, not to the point to where you have to be miserable and just ignore everybody, but you just got to be ready for that.
I agree. I'd say in high school I was definitely aware of it, but college is just a whole different ball game, whole different world. And I think I really understood that when I began my actual season in the spring of my freshman year. The fall, we didn't play any true games, so I wasn't exactly aware of it. But I think that social media is just like a constant like feedback loop in college, and it just like is a constant spiral, either in a positive or negative direction. And coming to college, it just really opened my eyes to that, and to how like college just really opened my eyes to like the amount of fans that care so much about your athletic performance that maybe I didn't exactly realize in high school. Or I'd see comments of people that have been following me from high school to college, and I didn't even realize it until I got to college. So it was really eye-opening experience coming to college and really understanding how much social media does impact student athletes and how much people use social media to just follow athletes in general.
And college fandom has always been wild. I grew up Central Illinois. I went to school here at one point, and I've always been a huge Illini fan. But, you talk about being a huge Illini fan, that's one thing. But college fandom, like, my daughter, my oldest is a senior this year, but when she was learning her colors, she knew red, blue, green, daddy's color. Orange wasn't orange; it was daddy's color. That's what she knew first. That was that was my color. I wore orange all the time. That's how she, because that's the level of fandom we're talking about, and that's something that's just different. That really, it's so widely common at colleges across the country, no matter what school it is or what level it is. Even there's passion there, and so that is a good thing. But it can also take that little bit of a turn. And that's where I Matter, I think, is so important. So, Liz, you've talked about what the background was for it, but what is the initiative itself? Like, how does it functionally interact? How does it functionally affect the situations, affect the atmosphere for these student athletes?
Yeah, that's a great question. Functionally speaking, our first year we had a lot of great efforts in providing awareness to our student athletes. We had this great content capture. We're beginning to release it, but not everybody necessarily knew what it was or who we were and what we were trying to do. So we have a long list of opportunities where we connect with student athletes to share about this initiative. At the beginning of the year, we all have an all-student athlete welcome back event where we're going over updates and main key things as we kick off the year. So that's a huge opportunity for us to hit all of our student athletes. Coaches are also present. We also have team meetings at the beginning of every semester, so we try to reiterate some things or new updates from our initiative there. We also have a transition into college course for first-year student athletes, and as you know, when you're new to campus, there's so much that you're trying to balance and manage, your academic profile and then also your athletic profile in this case for our group. So we try to provide some education and just awareness. If they're new and it hasn't happened yet, it could happen to them that they are experiencing social media harassment. So it's important for them to know up front that this resource exists and our initiative is here to help them out with that. We also are providing similar education to our staff and our coaches, just like our student athletes. Some of them may have heard about it or may not know too much about it, but we're trying to get in front of our staff and our coaches to share about this, whether it be in coaches meetings or in our entire athletic department staff meetings. And then I'll share one more thing. Our office has one-on-one conversations with student athletes as they're having, we call them career counseling appointments, but it's kind of a catch-all conversation to talk about multiple different areas and resources that exist. So we kind of weave in our iMatter program in those one-on-one conversations. And then diving deeper into the functionality, any student athlete can screenshot a social media harassment piece that's happened either to them or to a teammate, and they can anonymously submit it to an email address, our DIA social media address at illinois.edu account. And from there, we have a staff member in our compliance office who's looking at the content that's coming in. And then from there, several folks will get flagged just so that they're aware that somebody could be experiencing negative social media harassment. And we can dive in deeper into how much do we need to put resources and support this student athlete. Some of those folks being their athletic trainer who know exactly kind of where they're at on their wellness side, and then also their sport administrator, the person who kind of manages the program and works really closely with our coaches and our student athletes to ensure they're having a great experience. And then some other folks as well that may need to be part of the conversation depending on how deep and how severe it is. Is it a one-time thing? Is it a reoccurring thing that's happening with the student athlete? But yeah, we from there provide also resources. And we actually have y'all, McKinley and several campus counseling places that could provide support on our resources list as well. And then the last piece that I'll say is if for some reason they don't feel comfortable or don't want to report it to our anonymous email address, we also recommend for them to screenshot it and submit it to the Twitter, social media harassment page or the Instagram one. So if they don't want to, again, just submit it to us, we definitely recommend for them to still report it just so that that content gets pulled off and people don't dive into that spiral of bashing an athlete for an athletic outcome.
If there's somebody listening who is not an athlete, not involved with DIA, like for instance myself, how can we support iMatter? Is there a role that the general public plays in this, or something that you're looking for as far as engagement or involvement from those who want to support this kind of initiative and want to support student athletes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say if you could help us amplify our student athletes' voices, the content that we have either has their direct quotes or it's video content that they have spoken on themselves or our coaches have as well. If you could help reshare, retweet, relike, or quote tweet, where it's a retweet with you endorsing the message, that would be really helpful. Or if you see the negative social media comment online, just screenshot it and submit it to the Twitter reporting line or Instagram, whatever platform it may be. If you could help us in that way in reporting the bad, that would be really helpful. That way our student athletes don't see it. It doesn't affect their wellness, and we can go down that path as well, all the negative effects. As we all know, negative messaging and bashing someone isn't going to allow us to win or help us win in any way, shape, or form. So we're not really helping each other there in that sense. But yeah, just helping amplify their voices would be super helpful in reporting the negative media content that's out there.
And I see it all the time that someone will say something negative about an athlete, whether it's a college athlete or professional athlete, and it hits a point where there's someone says, this isn't right. Then a bunch of people come out and say, I support you. We're not part of that. We don't agree with that. We don't claim that person. And some of that needs to be a little more proactive in the people that support. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree that we need to get the message out there and have it amplified and just be vocal. Because oftentimes the loudest voices are the ones that are angry. There needs to be some more vocal that is more positive. One of the things that you said that I really love is that you're talking about the iMatter and the iMatter initiative, and you said you bring the athletes to the forefront and not just as athletes. That there's a whole nother perspective to them that most people don't see because they just see them as athletes. So I want to take a moment. I'm going to put you on the spot here, both of you, Alex and Delaney. And so I want you to tell me a little bit about who you are that has nothing to do with a diamond or a ball. What's something you enjoy doing? What do you, I should say nothing, like your major, if it's going to end up, you want to work in sports, you want to work with baseball or you want to work with softball, that's totally fine. But as far as not playing, because you're both more than just a player you're outstanding players on the field. And I followed Delaney since I met her last year. I followed some of her accomplishments on the field, and I'll follow Alex now too, more closely. But you're more than that. There's more to who you are. This is a platform and opportunity, hopefully, that you can share a little bit and kind of humanize who you are as a player. So either whoever wants to go first, you can bounce back and forth. I don't care. But give me some insight into who you are without the jersey.
I would say I'm a sister. I have 2 brothers. I'm a daughter. I'm a roommate, I'm a friend, I'm a business gal in the making. I'm actually Liz's student athlete development intern for this semester as well. So I've been able to just shadow her for the past 2 months so far and just learn from her through everything that she's done and all the leadership skills that she does have. And I feel like that's really helped me just grow as a person in general and just really understand that me as a person outside of being a student athlete, there's so much to offer. And working with her in the office has just really allowed me to see the other side of student athlete, the business side, not just the athletic performance side and how I perform on the field. But then I go into work and I'm okay, I'm going to help these other student athletes get to where they want to be and do that side of it as well. So I feel like all of that matched with just being with my family, being present, being with my friends, my teammates that are my friends, that has just really helped me outside of being a student athlete and just understanding that there's so much more to offer than just your athletic performance on the field. And this university has so many resources that they are here for us and they want us to succeed in life, not just through wins and losses.
What about you, Alex?
For me, I'm the oldest of 3, so I have a pretty big mantle to be carrying, and even my 2 younger brothers and my younger sister, they all look up to me to be the one to, pave the road of how to be successful because I'm the firstborn, so I'm kind of the guinea pig in all this. So I have to make sure I do all the right things and all that. But even besides that, I'm a friend to a lot of people. I like to consider myself a great teammate, and my ultimate goal, whether it's through sports or just out in the real world, is just really to help my community. Whether if I'm, like you said, I'm trying to stay off the baseball topic, but if I go and expand my career in baseball, I look at it as a lot of people are going to use their money and a lot of their time off from their family, maybe having family-focused trips to come and watch me play or watch me perform. And for me, I feel like I have to give that back just from moral standpoints. Just, I mean, there's a lot, even like in today, a lot of stuff is going on in today's world, and people are trying to make ends meet. So if they can find time with, regardless of their lifestyle and how hard it is on their family or how easy they got to come and watch me, I got to give back. Or if I'm not doing that, whether it's business or I do something in public safety, just making sure I have a safe community and giving back as much as I can, because that's just where I feel like I need to be, and that's my role as being a human.
I love both those answers. I really do.
They're pretty incredible young men and women. I feel so fortunate I get to work with them every day, but like literally what they said, they're community leaders, they're entrepreneurs, they're businessmen and women. They're, oh my gosh, so academically gifted. Like it's very impressive, but yeah, they have incredible profiles outside of sports.
And I get asked a lot back home by people like, why do you like working in the university? And I'll tell them, I love the energy. I love being around young men and women who are finding themselves, who are passionate about things, and that passion is infectious. It just is. And there's a lot of, like Alex, like you said, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and there's a lot of things that are troublesome there in a lot of areas, and there's struggles that all kinds of people have. But I come here and I'm reminded that there are people that are passionate about those struggles and are wanting to use the gifts they have, whether it be intellectually, physically, emotionally, the gifts they have to impact the world for good. And that's something that needs to be remembered when we're talking about student athletes, that there's not one athlete that's here who is just here to throw a ball, bounce a ball, kick a ball, whatever you want to say, because they're part of a university. That's a very tough university. You don't just come here and just slide. You can't. You're not going to be allowed to. We know that. And they're here because they're passionate about the sport, but they're also passionate about bettering themselves and bettering the world around them. And so that's a huge part of it, and why it's so important to keep in perspective that these athletes that we're seeing are people. That these athletes that we're seeing, if we're frustrated with a performance, I promise you those athletes are more frustrated with that performance.
Exactly.
I could ask you right now, who's your harshest critic? And I know who it's going to be. It's going to be the person sitting on the other side of the table from me. And so, you care more than, I care a lot, and I'm nobody compared to in the program. I'm just a fan. I care a lot, and you care even more. And that's something else to remember, that if I'm feeling frustrated that because of a game didn't go the way I wanted to, or because of a call didn't go the way I wanted it to, that you're feeling just as frustrated, if not more so. And that's something really important to remember and keep it humanized as well. So if I guess I want to close with, I'm going to put you on the spot again. I want to close with, if you were to have one statement to the generic fan out there of what's the best way to support a student athlete, not just the teams, but the student athletes. And with the IMITER, and the IMITER program is part of that, but what's the perspective that you would want them to bring to viewing a game, or bring to viewing a performance of an athlete? What's your word of advice to them?
I would say, like, a word of advice is that we put in long hours. Please put that into consideration for your calculation and your Twitter and your tweet. But yeah, we are human, and just know that we're going out there 110%, throwing bodies on the line, doing everything we can to bring a win, because when we win and we do well, the university does well.
Going along with that too, I would just say, like, I understand being competitive. We're all competitive. We all want to win, but we're also human. We are athletes, but we're also human. We're also students, daughters, sons, etc. Just really understanding that we are out there fighting for the Fighting Illini, and we are doing the best that we can every second of the day, and just understanding that even if it doesn't go our way, we're going to bounce back, and if it does go our way, we're going to keep growing on that. And just having the fans be there through the highs and lows just really helps with all of that as well.
Well, guys, I appreciate so much you coming and talking about this today. It's something that I am passionate about. Even before we started this conversation, the social media and remembering people are human is a big deal to me. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And I just really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Social media is a great thing. I mean, we're on social media. That's what a podcast is. It's part of social media. And we use Instagram, we use TikTok, we use all kinds of things to get our message out there. And it's a positive. But social media can be a negative as well if we don't if we're not careful and we let our emotions get the best of us, we say things we would never say in person. And oftentimes that kind of interaction happens and is directed towards athletes. Athletes seem to catch the brunt of a lot of that kind of negativity. And so I'm proud to be a part of a university that has an initiative to try and combat that, the I Matter initiative. And if you heard anything today that you want to be a part of or you want to find more about, we will have resources in the bio as always. Check it out, see what's there, find ways that you can support our athletes. Let them know that you are behind them, that you want them to feel the positivity, that you want to help fight against the negativity. So if you want to be a part of that, reach out to us, let us know, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. Continue the conversation, and we just want to be a part of that with you, be a part of that shift in positivity if we can. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey, no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter. And we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.